By today's standards,
This video is definitely made for unaware kids. Look at this fictional antelope.
always sad when you learn an animal no longer exists in the wild, like we're losing something great in the environment because of it. Extinction is seen as a terrible end to any creature, and we should be working towards preserving that species as best we can. However, there sure were some that were glad went extinct long ago. From massive
Now, I've pretty much stopped complaining about showing Jurassic Park / Jurassic World as an educational source, but look at this giant monster that were shown here.
monsters to powerful predators. These are everything that haunts our dreams to this day. Some were long gone before humans, and some of them might have shared hunting spaces. Get comfortable, get ready, and make sure you subscribe to the Forever Green channel.
Okay, I'm going to be brutally honest. This looks like a fusion from Godzilla, Vastatosaurus Rex from King Kong, and a baryonyx called Ruddy, whatever.
Because we've got a doozy of a video to show you today. 24 deadly animals you will be glad to know are extinct.
What is this we're shown here again? At this point, stuff are getting way more cool and not paleontology-like than Jurassic Park / Jurassic World. Jurassic Park actually still treats subjects like animals and everything.
Number 24, Smilodon.
I have heard of Smilodon in those horrible paleontology videos 100 gazillion times now. Does it bring anything new to the table?
Otherwise known as the saber-toothed cat.
At least the dude didn't call it saber-toothed tiger. That would have been awful.
The Smilodon was an ambush predator known for its robust build and exceptionally long canine teeth. It was built with a larger jaw than modern cats, and teeth adapted well by nature for its exact style of precision killing. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty glad we only have to deal with mountain lions and bobcats.
I feel that this dude has double standards here, but I'm not sure where.
Unless you live somewhere a bit wilder. The saber-toothed cat may have briefly lived with humans, but likely died with humans, and the Ice Age finally putting the nail in the coffin.
Died with humans? So you're implying that the humans also went extinct with Smilodon?
Number 23, Pentacopterus decorahensis. You probably don't want to imagine a giant scorpion, much less one that's 5 feet long. In 2015, scientists discovered the Pentacopterus decorahensis in all its glory and used to swim around modern-day Iowa nearly 450 million years ago.
It first appeared 467.3 million years ago and went extinct 458.4 million years ago.
Their successors would go on to be current-day ticks, spiders, and lobsters, but chances are they didn't last long after Iowa decided to be, well, Iowa instead of a seabed. All we have to this day are fossils and drawings, though a replica was created for National Geographic's Strange Truth program. Sometimes seeing is believing, but it would be better to go ahead and unsee some things.
This video is the literal definition of made for kids because I'm not entertained by this unsee something yada 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 babble.
Number 22, Hallucigenia forti.
Hallucigenia fortis. Where did the S go?
If you've ever wondered what it's like for a worm to have legs, then you're going to regret that thought pretty soon.
Honestly, I'm not too fazed by it, although I think my mother is.
This absolute nightmare fuel is like every worst possible thing wrapped into one, because they might not be legs, they're probably tentacles, and they may or may not have had mouths on them.
Not to mention those spiky things at its back.
Pairs of really stiff spines running along one side of the organism and long flexible appendages on its other side.
Looking like something horrific out of a Dali painting, this noodly little guy has got it going on if it is being the worst thing that ever existed.
Now, to give credit where credit's due, this guy is getting straight to the point, unlike Brightside.
I know this isn't what a ringworm looks like, but it would be so much worse if it were, don't you think? Number 21, Gigantopithecus.
Which was more like a big ol' orangutan.
Until about 1,000 years ago, you might have been able to spot Bigfoot in Asia.
So you're implying Gigantopithecus lived until 1000 AD.
To what we know as modern apes and orangutans, these ancient ancestors were nearly 10 feet tall. Why are all old animals massive? They were probably vegetarian, but we can't be sure. And vegetarian doesn't make an arm span of 12 feet any less terrifying. One big hug and you're snapped in half. Number 20, Harpa gornis morai.
Which is outdated. Now it's called HarrisTsangYT morai, aka Haas eagle.
Also known as Haast's eagle, the Harpa gornis morai probably only went extinct about 500 years ago.
It went extinct during the 1400s.
At the hands of early Polynesia peoples in southern New Zealand. They developed what we now know as island gigantism due to a lack of competition, and were a clear descendant of the terrifying raptor.
It did not descend from a raptor.
At the time, they were known best by locals for their ability to swoop down and pick up whole children once the Maori people had whittled down their food source. I'm sorry, but at that point, it's every person for themselves.
Haas eagle went extinct because its prey, the moa, got hunted to death by the humans.
Number 19, Edestus.
This seems like an outdated model for the Edestus.
We may not know this guy's exact form
You're just showing a Helicoprion.
because of how old they are. But the Edestus, also known as a scissor-toothed shark or coal shark, was a type of animal not to shed teeth, instead just grow more of them. This new growth would push the older teeth and gums forward, creating a potentially terrifying spiral tooth display.
In Edestus world, only a single row of teeth occur in the midline of each jaw.
One option is like this, a spiral saw of old jagged teeth, though some others speculate whether their mouth looked like a monstrous pair of pinking shears instead. Have you ever looked into prehistoric creatures? Which one would you not want to face off with?
Most of the time you call those prehistoric creatures terrifying. I call them special, because those freaky looking creatures, they are still animals, just they look kind of special and they stand out.
Do you think we're better off without these beasts? Let us know down below. Number 18, Frabaromis patterson.
Where did the eye go at the end of Patterson?
If you think city rats are enormous, you'd hate to come across these little ratzillas. It's all fun and games until that rat is the size of a bull. They could grow as long as 10 feet with a 5-foot tail.
Which is based on another species of Frabaromis named Frabaromis burmesteri.
They might have been herbivorous, but they had foot-long incisors, and I really don't like those odds. They were known to live in the ancient Orinoco River Delta about 8 million years ago, so they're probably not going to come back anytime soon. Hopefully. Number 17, Titanoboa. And you thought the Loch Ness Monster was terrible?
Look, fam, Loch Ness Monster. It does not exist. It looks kind of freaky, but for me at least, I don't have anything bad to say about its looks.
If they weren't over 60 million years old, I might think these bad boys were the inspiration for those kinds of myths. That is, ignoring entirely that they were found in northeastern Colombia rather than Scotland. With a name like Titanoboa, you kind of already know what you're getting into. It's a titanic snake, which could grow as long as 42 feet long and weigh as much as 2,500 pounds. You're not winning a fight with this bad boy no matter how good you are.
Look at this Titanoboa constricting a dinosaur that is probably several times the size of the Titanoboa.
They'd eat you whole as a midday snack if they even recognized you as food. Number 16, Megalania. If you're in an area known for dragonflies, you'll know they're pretty big. But what if they were so big, you'd have to beat them off with a bat? They might have been harmless like their modern-day descendants, but that sure doesn't make it a whole lot better. Number 15, Dunkleosteus.
The guy just speed ran through Megalania like how Dream speed ran through Minecraft.
If you didn't think fish needed armor, you certainly don't know much about prehistoric times. The Dunkleosteus.
What was that pronunciation, bro? Dunkleosteus. That's not that hard to pronounced it correctly.
Not long had its armor, but had unique teeth and a beak-like mouth, explicitly made for biting through the same kind of armor. They might have been a sort of cannibalistic species. With that kind of information though, we can't be sure. They had jaws so efficient they could hinge them open and snap them back shut in just a matter of milliseconds.
Are you starting to become another one of those bright side-ass clickbait paleontologist videos and everything?
Number 14, Anomalocaris. When you think of apex predators, do you think of killer whales, lions, or tigers? Do you think of something massive and powerful and in control of its environment? Well, the Anomalocaris may be the earliest example we have of this kind of behavior, and it's a shrimp. This hideous 6-foot-long creature
Hideous. I've seen abominations way more hideous than that.
had tentacles with teeth in them, and they were carnivores in their time. We're just lucky shrimp don't look like this anymore because I'm not sure a beach trip would be the same knowing what's down there.
Would it even attack you? If it doesn't think you're worth the effort, it won't attack you. It's a predator.
Number 13, Titanoceratops gains.
Titanoceratops gainesi. Sorry about that. Titanoceratops gainesi.
At a massive half-a-meter length, the discovery of this 500-million-year-old species was beyond comprehension at the time. The Titanoceratops were considered giant compared to even most of the animals living in the sea at the time, which were all barely larger than a pinky finger. This mind-bogglingly large critter is to this day one of the largest animals ever found from the Cambrian period.
You're talking about that when it's supposed to be 24 deadly animals you'll be glad to know are extinct. I don't know if I should be glad to know if this thing is extinct. I don't think I should be. In fact, I think I should be sad.
Complete with a tooth-lined mouth, spiny claws, and a body with flaps to better swim with. All of this adds up to an arthropod I'm very, very glad we don't have to deal with today. Number 12, Forus racidae.
Forus racidae, also known as terror birds.
With a name like terror bird, you get exactly what you're expecting. But if that's not enough, 2 million years ago they lived in the Americas and could grow to be something of 10 feet tall. Their beaks were so strong and sharp that a blow from the head could kill other animals by cracking their skulls. These apex predators from the Cenozoic era went extinct around the time of the humans, though they may have lasted in a much smaller form until recently in Uruguay,
which is called the Seriema. It's part of the Seriema forms, along with the terror birds.
They might have been flightless, but if you've ever seen the power of an ostrich, you'd know that doesn't mean anything. Number 11, Argumentus.
Argumentus, dude, it's not even the first time I saw this misspelling, mispronunciation, everything.
To continue the theme of birds,
It's this Pelagonus sandursi.
this prehistoric vulture had a wingspan of 20 feet, was as tall as a human, and preyed on cattle. We know that even current-day birds are just evolved dinosaurs, but this one gives off powerful pterodactyl energy. They're the largest flying birds ever to exist.
Thank God you said that. Pelagonus had a longer wingspan, but it was still smaller than the Argentavis. Thank goodness you've done Argentavis justice.
Which, compared to the current largest flying birds of the albatross and the North American condor, they're more than twice the size. This seabird spent most of its time swooping above the ocean for giant prey like squid and fish, and probably ate its game both live and whole. At a breakneck speed of 10 meters per second for its flight speed, we're lucky they've gone extinct. We may not know why, but we know we're lucky. Number 10, Megalania. Isn't it a bit crazy that almost all ancient civilizations have some
Also, we're now simply showing dragons from Game of Thrones. I can see it in the credits section. Is that Dracarys?
variation of a dragon story? The Megalania may have something to do with that. This extinct species of giant monitor lizard inhabited Australia during the Pleistocene era, and it is the largest terrestrial lizard known to have existed. They vanished probably around 50,000 years ago and probably went extinct around the first emigration of indigenous settlers.
Now, instead of showing Megalania, we're shown this abomination from King Kong 2005 film.
If you think you've got some nasty relatives, just think of how the Komodo dragon must feel. Number 9. Deinosuchus. I mean, all crocodiles are terrible, but not all of them have it in the name.
You mean crocodilian, not crocodile.
These bad boys lived up to the awful name. Dinosaurs of the time left fossils with Deinosuchus bites left in them. They regularly went toe-to-toe with our prehistoric predecessors.
So now you're showing time-traveling Sarcosuchus with Carcharodontosaurus trying to compete with sauropod prey.
They grew up to as long as 35 feet long and were found in North America. Can you imagine one of these just walking through your yard? People freak out for less. We're just lucky they seem to have died out before the mass extinction events, because I'm not sure a meteor would have been able to do the job.
Look, anything over 25 kilograms in mass went extinct by the meteor and everything else that came after it.
Number 8. Platabeldon. During the Miocene epoch in
Pronounce that similar to Miocene epic. You're supposed to Miocene epoch.
Africa, Asia, and the Caucasus, you might have run across a Platabeldon, which looks a lot like current-day elephants while still being distinct. They had a massive shovel of a lower jaw, used to pull up aquatic and semi-aquatic vegetation. They might have been herbivores, but current-day elephants can still be a hazard.
As with any other herbivore, I don't need to say it a bazillion times how notoriously dangerous they are.
Imagine a jaw like that, with the power behind it and the sharp incisors forming a scythe-like tool with it. No, no thank you. Number 7. Helicoprion.
Well, this looks like an up-to-date model of Helicoprion.
If you're like any sane person out there, you've probably never had the thought, I wish sharks had a buzzsaw-shaped mouth.
Then again, this is paleontology we're talking about. Expect the unexpected.
Like most other prehistoric fish out there aren't enough fossils left to get a good idea. The Helicoprion baffled scientists for centuries as a mystery. They found bits and pieces of a jaw and finally put together its horrific form, as if we didn't have nightmares already. The whorl of teeth was created as the fish produced more towards the back rather than shedding old ones, pushing them forward into this spiral of horror. All we know is they went extinct close to 225 million years ago.
That's the same mistake that someone else did. They only lived from 290 to 270 million years ago during the Artinskian of Ciceralian, aka early Permian, to the Rhodian age of the Guadalupian, aka middle Permian.
Oh, and good riddance. Number 6. Arthropleura. I think this might haunt me at night. The Arthropleura is not precisely the kind of thing you'd want to see out in the woods when you're alone.
Okay, so as long as I don't provoke them, I should be fine. I just need to be careful looking at them, and then simply leave.
They might be more similar to modern millipedes. The horror in these guys is that they're not tiny. But do you want to know something horrifying? If they had to defend themselves, they could probably rear into an upright posture and look you straight in the eyes. And I personally never want to repeat those words. Number 5. Leviathan Melville.
Every time, you always forget the I. What's going on?
You probably know better, but if a name says anything, being named after the ancient sea leviathans should tell you everything you need to know about this beast. They are a relative to the modern sperm whales and could grow up to around 57 feet long, with a skull alone that was 10 feet, not to mention its 40 teeth at 14.5 inches long.
Well, for more convenience sake, you should have said 36.2 centimeters, 1.2 feet long.
Which are, if you're wondering, the longest teeth on any creature, extinct or not.
Except for the tusks.
They fed on large prey at the surface of the water. Though its size helped, it was probably so large because of its competitor, the Megalodon,
which the Leviathan would probably win a fight against.
They went extinct due to the mass cooling event, which also preserved many of their bones.
Which makes this animal the biggest tetrapod bite ever discovered.
Lucky for us, the ocean has one less horror out there. Number 4. Camarasaurus. Not to say there aren't giant squids out there, but the ones we have are nothing next to this one.
In fact, the giant squid is even longer. And now we're just talking about a larger specimen that belongs to Endocerus.
They lived something of 460 million years ago and had a vast cone-like shell on top which aided them in hunting. Though at their size, 40 feet long and 2,000 pounds, they probably didn't have to compete very hard. I wouldn't say this is the inspiration, but if they'd lived a little longer, I could see humans making a big deal about the deep-sea kraken after seeing one of these giant creatures.
What did I see? Was that something from Pirates of the Caribbean?
What's happening?
It's a huge squid. It's got to collide.
The stuff of legends if there ever was. Number 3. Megapiranha.
This feels less like a mega piranha. This feels more like a random abomination from a random movie.
Chances are the prehistoric cousin is just what you'd expect, but more horrifying than you'd think. They were the size of boogie boards and easily about 3 feet long.
It's actually closer to just 71 centimeters, aka 28 inches long.
With 2 rows of teeth where their current successors only have 1, these monsters were known to even go after beasts like the Megalodon or Tyrannosaurus rex.
There is no other paleontology video that says that. Are you serious right now?
With rising oceans, they were shuffled off to smaller water basins and couldn't sustain the large size, evolving down to make this change was survival. It would be nice if they were gone, but I'll take what I can get. Number 2. Megalodon. These whale-chomping monsters were a force to be reckoned with.
There's no point telling those are animals, not monsters anymore. At this point, those bad paleontology videos always call these animals monsters. There's no point in correcting them because it only incentivizes them to make even more videos and call those prehistoric animals monsters.
However, we don't entirely know when the last Megalodon died. It was probably around 3.6 million years ago after a global cooling event. The scale of these massive beasts is hard to put together. Their jaws could eat a complete grown man whole. To this day, the Megalodon's 60-foot length makes them still to this day one of the most formidable carnivores to have ever existed.
Piscivore or something? It also hunted whales and all that.
We still don't have an entire skeleton, but we know they probably would have stuck to warmer climates. The coastal towns of Florida and the Caribbean islands would probably not be as hospitable if they hadn't died out. Number 1. Archdodus.
Oh my god. How do you misspell that? Archdodus. Come on, bro.
Not your average bear. The Archdodus was 50% larger than any recorded polar bear,
Which depends a lot on the size.
and probably would have needed to eat close to 35 pounds of meat per day to sustain their size. They were native to California until about 11,000 years ago, which is far too close to modern times if you ask me. They're one of the largest known mammalian carnivores to have ever existed, and probably went around the same time as the Megalodon with the global cooling event.
What? Megalodon went extinct 3.6 million years ago. Archdodus first lived 2.5 million years ago. What is going on at this point?
Do you think they'd fit in among current-day animals? Or are they all just a bit too big? A few evolved and are just a more petite version of their prehistoric ancestors. But not all. Let us know your thoughts down below.
So that is the end of the video. As you can see, this video was not good. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. See you all next time.